Well, hey everyone, welcome back. Our guest today is Danny Stearman. He's an electrical engineering major, and he's actually just finishing up his college. Actually, Danny, you've got kind of an interesting college experience that you've had. Why don't you tell me a bit about that?
It's been real interesting. I graduated high school in 2012, so I might be the older guy in college right now. But I did 2 years at Eastern Oklahoma State College. That's southeastern Oklahoma,
Hmm.
and I was doing general education over there. I was planning on doing petroleum engineering, and I was just trying to get my gen eds done, and I did 2 full years over there, and I think I was 3 credit hours shy of my first, like associate's degree, and so I had 3 credit hours left. I decided, hey, I'm going to transfer to Oklahoma State Institute of Technology in Okmulgee and do their natural gas compression program, which is basically a natural gas compressor mechanic. You go install them, you maintain them, you fix them. And that summer, when I was deciding to do that, I got a phone call from somebody and said, "Hey, there's a job opening. You should come apply for it. Just see what happens." I said, "Man, I'm about to go to school, go apply and everything, and I don't know if I can do that." And he said, "Well, how long do you have to enroll?" And I said, "I got till beginning of August, and then I got to really get serious about it." And he said, "Well, go ahead and apply." And I think it was mid-May when I applied, and it was for a chemical salesman job in the oil field for Nalco Champion. So I applied. I got a phone call for an interview. I went down, drove like 3 hours away from my house, and did an interview just with some random people. And they asked me questions. How'd you find out about the job? And I said, well, a friend called me and said I should try to apply. And they told me about it. So basically, as a chemical salesman, what they would do is they would treat anything upstream, downstream, oil, gas, water wells, what you name it, chemical. We provided it. So during the interview was going great. They was liking everything I guess I had to say, and come to the last remarks, and they told me, "Is there any questions that you have for us?" And I just basically told them, if you would just let me know if I don't get the job. I kind of need to know because this is my future plan is to go enroll for this degree or this school to get this degree. And they said that's perfectly fine. We can handle that. And a few weeks had went by, and I wasn't thinking much of it, just enjoying the summer, just working a little, and get a phone call, and it said her name was Sharon from Nalco Champion, and she said, "Is this Danny Stearman?" I said, "This is he." And she said, "Well, I'm just gonna let you know you got the job. We'd like to offer it to you, and well, you're going. We'll send you out here. We'll get you a company truck. You'll drive it home. If you want to sell your personal vehicle, get rid of it. You don't need it anymore because this is your personal vehicle. We want you in it 24/7." And I said, "Okay." And she's sitting there, "I need a verbal commit." And I said, "Well, we hadn't really talked salary or anything or hourly rate." And she's sitting there, "Oh, yes, I forgot about that. They want to offer you 60,000 a year." And, I was just mind blown because here I'm 20 years old and I've been working a part-time job making like $400 every 2 weeks, and they offered me that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take it." So those 3 credit hours from that school with that associate's degree just flew out the window. I was like, "I don't need that. I'm going to go make money." And I went and did that. Started working. They sent me to Sugarland, Texas for 2 weeks. Did like an orientation and what to expect, safety training, that kind of stuff. And so I started doing chemical salesman stuff, and I worked in all over the state of Oklahoma. It was pretty rough at the beginning. I'd work maybe 60 to 70 hours a week. I was getting the ropes down. So basically, as the chemical salesman, we had accounts that we took care of, and I was just a runt. I was the guy that was just helping a guy take care of his accounts at the time. And so ours was a watershed, which is basically where they force water down into the earth to force the oil up, and that's how they'd pump the oil out of the ground. And we'd sit there, we'd have injection pumps, so we'd have a pump with our whatever chemical we needed on it, and we'd inject it down the backside of the tubing in order to treat for bacteria, by any kind of like wormholes or pits in the tubing, just whatever we could do to protect the pipe and keep that well running the longest. And then also with oil, there's a thing, we had like emulsion breakers. So basically what that is where oil and water won't separate. It's weird. Yeah, I know it's very weird because you think water and oil they separate, but
why does that happen? Why do they combine in that way?
well, what I'm not 100% on the science fact, but basically what it does is they are it's just combined so much that it's like a thick sludge. Is what it is. So you can't really tell there's water in it, but there's if you we have what's called a centrifuge, and basically you'll get your sample and you'll put it inside that centrifuge and you'll heat it up to about 150 degrees and just enough to get that oil to boil in that water. You can kind of see it separate a little, and then you'll spin it for 5-10 minutes, and it'll tell you how much percentage of water stuck inside that oil, what kind of maybe trash is in that oil. And so we'd have chemicals that you'd pump down the well and it'd break it up, or you'd have like defoamers for natural gas wells and all that kind of stuff. But it was interesting, and I sit there and kept getting told by managers and everything like, hey, we like everything you're doing, just keep up the good work, you'll be running this place. And I was in there, okay, well, I was sitting there thinking I've already had a career made out of this, and 2 full years in, I'm my own salesman now. I have my own accounts I take care of, and pay went up just a little bit more, and a little more stress, I will say that. When I got my own, it wasn't it was me having to answer the hard questions to supervisors or my customer and everything like that. But it was going great. Oil for price of per barrel for oil was I think $132 at the time. This was 2000, I think 15. Yeah, it was 2015. It was high. That's when gas rates were up there. Everything was booming. And then election year come up, Obama's leaving office, Trump's, about, running for office. And that's when it tanked, and it went from $132 a barrel to $29 a barrel overnight. And I remember waking up one morning, I got an email. I kept up with it to see how much, if it go up and down, how much it fluctuate. And I seen that, and I was like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? And we had like a big company meeting, and they basically said, hey, just keep your customers happy. Y'all's going to do your work. Try to sell as much chemical as you can. There's going to be a lot of cutbacks, I'm sure. We're going to try keeping as many people as we can, but just know it's a train ride, and maybe one day you're going to have to get off that train. And it's like, all right, well, I wasn't too worried about it. And it wasn't about a month later, they laid 2 people off out of my office, and that woke me up. And I said, all right, well, I need to save every penny I can just in case that could be another month. And so I saved for a full year, and everything was still going good, doing a great job. And I got talking to a friend, and I went and bought a motorcycle because, he got me into motorcycles, and went and bought it on a Friday, took off work early, had a great time. It was a Harley Davidson Sportster, and rode it all weekend. And Monday morning, I'm driving to work. I get a phone call from my district manager. It says, hey, man, I need you to swing by the office. And I'm sitting there, all right. And I instantly hung up, and I pulled over on the side of the road, and I had a box of glass vials that we'd collect water samples, whatever, in. And I just dumped them in the bed of my truck, and I put all my personal stuff in it. And I called some friends, and they said, what's going on? I said, well, I think I'm getting laid off today. And They said, no, you're not. And sure enough, I got to the office and they had HR there, and he was there, and he said, man, we hate to do this, but we're having to cut back. You're on the short list. And I was like, all right, I understand. And got me severance pay, and I got, I think, up to 6 months of uh, unemployment and everything. This was in April of 2016, and I've always been working since I was 15, and I felt like a piece of crap after that happened. I thought, oh man, well, there's some bright side to this. I'll have a summer. I can go back to school. I can go do some fishing. I had enough money in my bank account. I had a great nest egg for saving all year, plus unemployment and a severance package coming. So money wasn't an issue. So I thought, you know what? It's okay. Everything's going to be great. So I went fishing one morning, and I just could. It was actually the next morning after I got laid off. I was fishing in a little lake that I go to all the time, and I just couldn't enjoy it. It just didn't feel right because I'm supposed to be working and all this, and I thought, just started thinking, what am I going to do? And I started asking friends about what they did and all this. Well, I had plenty of friends that were electricians, and I sat there and asked them what they thought about it. And, a few of them told me, man, you don't want to be an electrician. You're going to hate it. And I said, I don't know about that. I'm fine with working. I don't mind it. And he said, if I were you, I'd do engineering or something. Do something in that field. And I was sitting there, well, I didn't listen. So I applied at Oklahoma State Institute of Technology that fall for electrical construction, which basically electrician. And I did a 2 full year program, paid for it out of my own pocket.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was really nice. What I liked about that school, it was a technical school, but you got an actual degree when you graduated. They would give you, depending on the program, you'd either have 4 to 2 paid internships.
Whoa.
Yeah, they'd bring in people, and those people would hire you, and it was kind of a slap to the face, the pay and everything, because you go in as an
after where you
yeah, going from, I think when I got laid off it was around 72,000 to go back to $15-17 an hour. It's like, oh gosh, this is rough.
Right.
But my first internship was the spring of 2017, and I did it in Oklahoma City with Midtown Electric out of Tulsa, and we were building an Amazon distribution building. So, the guy, my foreman. I get there first day and he said, "Who's the interns? Who's the interns?" And there's another kid from my school with me, and he pointed us out and he said, "What's your names?" And we told him our names, and he looked at me and he said, "Man, I already forgot your name, but I'm not going to call you by your name anyway. I already got your nickname." I'm sitting there, "What do you mean, my nickname?" He said, "Well, we give people nicknames in the construction field, and I got yours." And I was sitting there, "All right, well, what is it?" And he said, "McLovin." And I was sitting there just, put my head down. I'm just laughing a little bit. And he's sitting there, "Have you ever been told you look like him?" I said, "Man, somewhat, but I don't see the resemblance near as much." But, I worked with him for, I think, a little over 15 weeks. And I'd be on that job site anywhere. He could be, a couple hundred yards away, and you just hear him yelling, "McLovin!" And everybody just be looking around like, who's this guy talking to? And then you just see me, climb out of a hole or something. And what? But they made me work pretty hard the first, to, I guess, show myself. And I did a lot of underground work, which basically is burying electrical PVC conduit, light poles, whatever, outside. You do a lot of underground work before you get to do the fun inside work on building something. And I ran a ground pounder, a tamper, packer, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it looks like a jackhammer, and it has a big metal steel plate on the bottom of it that just sits there and just compacts the ground. So you had to since it's in a parking lot, you had to compact the ground to a certain compaction, and it'd sit there and they'd test it and all that. So I would literally bury pipe and then run that tamper from 7 in the morning till about 5 in the evening. And granted, this was during a July, I want to say, so it was hot, miserable. And after I did that for about 3 weeks, my supervisor he looked at me and said, "All right, you've earned yourself inside and in the shade." And I did lighting, and I got to install a few services at that building. It was pretty cool. They had a north service and a south service. So basically, what a service is where the electric company brings in their power, and then you use it's basically like a house meter for a business, and that's where you take the power from the electric company to give power to the building. Did a few of those. I installed a server room. I installed numerous light switches, receps, you name it, LED lights. It was pretty cool, pretty crazy. Had a fun time with that job. Uh, After that was over, we had to go back for another like 8 weeks, and then we got to go to our second internship. And with my second internship, it was for Oil Capital Electric out of Oklahoma City, and it was actually probably one of my favorite jobs I ever done. It was I got to build or demolish and install the new north end scoreboard for Gaylord Memorial Stadium for the University of Oklahoma, and it was really neat because you get to go up inside the stadium that's been there for many years, and you get to see what's all behind it. You get to take out a piece of history, and every time if I go to a game there, I can point at that scoreboard and let you see that I did that.
That's cool.
And yeah, it was really cool. I started that in 2018, and we demolished, took everything out, got everything, ready for the new stuff to come in. And for like the first 3 weeks, I did absolutely nothing. Like the first week, we demolished pretty much or demoed out everything that was needed to be demoed. And, the project manager at the time, he said, "Man, we don't have really much to do, but we're going to collect a paycheck. So just show up, and, we might go look around, make some plans on what we're going to do for the future." That's about it. So we did that for 3 weeks, and when our lead project manager would come, he said, "Hey, just make yourself scarce. Don't show yourself around them. I'm going to tell them that I got you doing this over here. Just go hide somewhere." And I was like, "Okay." So being on a college campus is at the time I was young enough, and I'd look the age appropriate, and I would just sit there, take off my orange vest, my hard hat, and I had a backpack, and I'd put it inside my backpack, and I'd walk right by, my lead project manager, and he wouldn't even know it's me. He'd just think I was a student walking by, and I'd go all over the campus, library, whatever, just walk around. And one of the cool things was we had a master key that would open any door on the campus, and I was given that key and told, like, don't lose this key because that's $100,000 key. And I was like, "What do you mean $100,000 key?" And they said if you were to lose it and they had to replace every lock, it's going to cost upwards of $100,000, if not more, to replace the locks because But I'd carry it around, and I'd be inside the stadium. I'd be going into VIP boxes. The only place that I could not go into was the actual locker rooms because they're fingerprint scanning. But I tried. I tried. Yeah, I tried. But it was really fun. We got the new scoreboard up. What's interesting is if anybody ever goes there and you look at it, you have to climb up inside of that scoreboard. And so there's a ladder, or you climb up the stairs of all the bleachers, then there's a ladder to get up inside there. And once you get up inside there, you got 4 floors between inside that scoreboard. So you got to, in a basement in it. It's pretty weird, pretty crazy. And it was nuts getting our all our equipment up there. It kind of sucked sometimes because you'd carry all the pipe up nothing but bleachers, and you'd hoist it up to each other, and then you'd hoist it down inside wherever was on that scoreboard. And but it was pretty neat. We'd sit there, and I'm an Oklahoma State fan all the way. I shouldn't probably tell this, but there's my name inside that scoreboard, wrote with a Sharpie somewhere, and then it says "Go Pokes," with pistols firing inside there. Just the ultimate.
Oh, that's
Here,
great.
yeah,
Oh, man.
I had to do it. I put it somewhere where it's not going to be noticed, and
That's funny.
you're going to have to really look for it, but it's still there. And
That's
uh, I got to meet the Lincoln Riley. I got to meet Joe Castiglione. He's their athletic director. I had to knock on his door one day, and I said, introduced him myself and everything. Said, I hate to bug you, but I need to get inside your office. I'm gonna have to look inside your ceiling. I'm looking for some pipes, that we have to locate so we can look about running future stuff for the scoreboard. And he said, no problem. I got to go somewhere anyway. Have at it. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you need to get back in, he'd give me he has a key code to get in. He gave me his key code, and he said, come up here, do whatever you need to. And I sit there, got up inside his office and was inside the roof. And we sit there and got all our lines located and went on our way. And then when we didn't have when we didn't have things to do, we was waiting on parts, we'd sit there, walk on the field. We'd get on the field and everything, and people would, hey, what are you doing? And say, hey, we're locating this line right here. And they said, oh, okay, no problem, no worries. And as long as we had that hard hat on, no one cared.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so as long as we had that hard hat on, no one cared. Just okay, well, we understand. Hey, you do what you got to do. But it's really interesting. I find it pretty cool. Their football field is real grass. It's not turf.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Still, even to this day.
I want to say still to this day, it's still real grass. It's not turf like Oklahoma State. It's turf. So it's pretty neat getting that down on that just to see how fine it was and all that. But I got that job done, and I ended up going back to school for another 8 weeks, and then I graduated with my associates in electrical construction. So what I liked about that school, Oklahoma State Institute of Technology, is they would literally, you could walk out of there with a degree, paid for. And when I graduated on a Friday, I started work on a Monday. So I already had a job,
Wow.
is lined out, everything was ready to go. Worked for Old Capital Electric again. I did a lift station for a sewage plant. So basically it's where they have trouble getting water up to it. If it, some part of elevation, it's basically just pumps that'll lift that water up and get it forced over to where it'll free flow again. But I did that, and I kind of got tired of the, construction side of working, just doing the same thing over and over. And basically, bend conduit, hang it up on the wall, pull some wire through it, wire light, wire switch, whatever, maybe a panel. Being a, pretty new apprentice, they wouldn't let you do much unless they got to see you and see your work and all that. Then they'd earn your trust. But I ended up doing maintenance electrical work after that. And with that maintenance electrical work, I worked for a plastic company, Berry Plastics, and anything plastic, they done it. Gatorade bottles, water bottles, diapers. Anything that you have inside your house appliance, that company's either makes it or, has a patent for it.
Wow.
And so I was a maintenance electrician for printing presses, bag machines, extruders, you name it. And that was a lot of fun because, you know, I was kind of thrown into it. Say a printing presses went down. These printing presses are from Germany, and all their manuals are in German, and I don't know how to speak German. And you know, you'd have to wait till like midnight and call Germany for their hotline just because that's their time of business, and just to maybe get a hold of someone and figure something out. But it was a lot more hands-on. Like I got to work with more live voltage than just new stuff. New stuff, it's pretty much everything's dead. You don't have to ever worry unless you're testing it. But I got my hands dirty in that and replaced motors, relays, you name it. It was fun. And then after that, I sat there and went to be a maintenance electrician for wind turbines. Worked for a company called Vestas. Number one, I'm going to say they're still the number one wind company in the world at this time. And it was cool. I got to travel all over the United States, went installing, maintaining, or doing some kind of repair on one. But it was different. I got a phone call while I was doing maintenance electrical work for Berry Plastic from a friend, and he said, "Hey, you want to come climb turbines?" I said, "Man, I don't know if I want to do that or not. I kind of got it made where I'm at." And he said, "Well, I know the pay is probably not going to be the same. It might be a little less than what you're making now, but you put in like your 6 months, you'll be making more than what you're making now. I guarantee you." I was like, "All right, well, I'll look into it." I did an interview, and during the interview process, they tell you to bring boots, clothes you don't mind getting dirty, and everything, because no matter what, you have to climb a turbine. And I'm sitting there, I'll go do it just to climb one, just say I've been inside one, just see what it looks like. And it was the middle of August. I think it was 95 degrees outside. You know, I haven't been in the greatest shape when I went to do this. And they make sure you get a harness and all this and all your equipment. They do some safety things. So I think I weighed 160 pounds at the time. And they, you know, give you your harness, give you a hard hat, safety glasses, climbing gloves. And on your harness, they have what's called a lad safe. So basically what that is you hook it to a cable and it goes up and down a ladder. And if you were to slip and fall, that lad safe is going to stop you. It's going to catch, you know, keep you from falling.
Right.
So you had to go free climbing. And I was sitting there, how tall are these? And everything in wind turbines is meters. They said it's like 90 meters, which I think is somewhere around 300 feet, you know, if you were to convert it. And so basically the only way to get up there is a 300-foot ladder. And once you put all that stuff on you, you weigh, you know, my 160 pounds turned into 210, no problem. And then you start climbing. It's just a long straight ladder. And, you know, the first section, you know, it's probably 150 foot. And then there's a deck that you know, can get off, take you a little breather. I get to that first section, I'm huffing and puffing. I'm already drenched in sweat. There's no ventilation inside the turbine. And but when you do this, they do what's called frog, or it's kind of like leapfrog. It's what we called it. So they'd have a guy climb up before you, then you would climb up, then someone would follow underneath. That way you could have a little break. Well, you know, they do the next. So I'm sitting there, I have a break. I get to the second deck, which is about another 100 foot up, and I'm just at this point, I'm dead. I'm every muscle in my body's shaking, and the guy said, "Are you okay?" I'm hunched over, and, you know, I got a little bottle of water. He said, "Just sip on it. Just sip on it. Don't chug it or anything." I said, "All right." And I looked at the guy. I said, "What do you got to do if you got to puke?" And he said, "You swallow it. You don't puke." I was in there, started. I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And so, you know, the other guy gets up there. Well, he goes up to the next section. You're at the top, so you're there. It's, you know, about another 100 feet, and I got to the very top and got inside the turbine, and it's pretty crazy because the inside of the tower section is probably I'd say a 10 by 10, but in a circle. So you got pretty good space, but it kind of tapers off once you get to the top. So once you get to the top, it might be an 8 by 8 or comparison to a room. And then you get inside what's called the nacelle, which is what sits on the very top of the tower that holds the blades, the generator, gearbox, transformers, everything. And I'm just huffing and puffing and drenched in sweat, and the guys sit here get on top of it. So there's holes inside the top of the roof that have doors on them, and you climb up on top of the roof to inspect stuff on top of the roof, and you tie yourself off. And once I got up on that roof, I tied myself off, and I was standing there, and you could just feel that wind, 95 degrees. It's still hot out, but it felt like it was 60.
Because the turbine is spinning?
Well, no.
Okay, so it's just a breeze.
It's
Okay.
just a breeze.
Did
no.
that ever work on one that's spinning?
Yes. Usually you'd have to work on it when it was down, but if you had to troubleshoot or test something, you could run it up with someone up top. But you had to be cautious about it. But you couldn't be on the roof. No, that was out of the game. Not happening.
So just the breeze.
So
okay.
just the breeze, because you're up so high, a 5 mile or it's meters per second wind. So like a 1-2 meter per second wind is like 5-7 miles per hour wind. So up there, it feels amazing. And, I got to see the views of there's the Arbuckle Mountains and in Oklahoma. And, got to see everything, look down. And it was, at that moment, I was sitting there, man, I'm going to take a pay cut, but I know I want to do this. And so I did it. And they flew me out to Portland, Oregon for 3 weeks for nothing but training, like climbing training, emergency rescue training, how to maintain like the turbine. So when I first started, basically all I did was, they knew I was an electrician. I had a background. I had a degree in it. The guy that I was working with, he told his supervisor, this guy knows his stuff. He'd be a really great asset. And they wouldn't let me just loose. They'd have someone with me and just overwatch me to make sure I did it correctly if it was some kind of electrical job. But for like first 6 months, I did nothing but yearly maintenance on them. So they have a yearly maintenance, 6 month maintenance. So basically, like you clean the whole turbine, you change what fluids you might have to change, what filters you might have to change. You check the torques on numerous bolts inside there, and it's just pretty crazy what they do. But finally, my 6 months were up, and I kind of got set loose, and I was a technician too. I started out as a tech 1, so basically you're just a runt. You can do mediocre stuff, just clean maintenance. Then a tech 2, they can go out troubleshoot, do stuff like that. And then like tech 3, you can install whatever you need to. You basically know the ins and outs of a turbine. We don't have to question your thought process or anything. So I got to tech 2, and I started troubleshooting things. One of the funniest parts, I guess, working there. You're up in a turbine for, depends, sometimes could be for an hour, could be for 8 hours up in the air. And you work with at least one other guy, if not 2 other guys. You can't go, you can't work on one by yourself. It has to be a buddy system just in case you were to get hurt. You got to have someone to be able to rescue you. So we were replacing a bearing inside of a gearbox, and that's a strenuous process. You got a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of heavy components up there that you're having to take off and move over, and it's tight as it is up there. If I were to say the nacelle is probably about the size of I'd say a 20-foot camper, about the size, the width, and about the length of one. Something like that. Give you a perspective of how big they are inside. But, you're putting all these parts inside that turbine, and there's places you can't walk now. Well, in order to get, they have on those blades, they have a big rotor on them, and you can pin them out so they won't turn anymore. It's like stationed out. So you'd pin it out, and then they have like disc brakes on the back with a big brake rotor on them, and that's what you'd get it to stop. So you can pin them out. So we had to remove that brake disc rotor just to get to that bearing that we need to replace. And in order to get it back on, the easiest way is you'd use dry ice on the shaft, and then you'd use a torch on the disc brake up there, and so it'd slide on easy. Well, we got a fire blanket up there, and we're heating the inside of this giant disc up and everything, and all of a sudden you hear some, you smell something burning? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And we look, well, it's a fire blanket. We don't think nothing of it. It can't catch fire. It's fireproof. Fire blanket's on fire. Oh, no. We're sitting there like, oh crap, what do we do? What do we do? So we're sitting there trying to beat this fire out, trying not to burn this turbine down. And you can do hot work. That's what they call it. Is like if you had to use a torch or something, but you had to have special permits in order to do it. Well, we didn't have a special permit to do it, so we're just up there, doing it, and we catch that dang thing on fire, and we get it, luckily we got it knocked out before the smoke detectors went off and all this, and it was funny. Everything went fine after that, but it was pretty neat. But I've done everything from change like little electric motors, from generators to gearboxes to blades, basically transformers, you name it, done it.
That's so cool.
It's pretty neat. Like people don't really understand like a generator in one of those. Like ours were 2 megawatts, so basically that's the size of the generator, how much power it'll produce per hour, and that 2 megawatt generator I think weighed a little over 15,000 pounds. So there's a lot of weight up there.
Oh, wow.
I think a gearbox was every bit of 40,000 pounds. Transformers, I think, were around 13,000. Goodness. Yeah, like the whole nacelle, blades, everything. You got several 100,000 pounds up there. People, don't realize. But one of the, I guess, scariest moments I've had up there was, you have high wind days, and certain wind speeds, you're not allowed to climb them anymore because it becomes dangerous. And they sit there, they have what's called an overspeed protection system on it. So basically if the blades start, they run, I think, around 13 to 15 revolutions per minute, so not very high RPM, but they would go up to 18 and then they would shut off. Like that's when the emergency system would kick in. So those blades would, they pitch up there. So they go from like I want to say it's 103 degrees to like -3 degrees. So they'll sit there and turn. And when they're pitched out at 90, that's basically what we call idle. And they'll just barely turn. It's very still. A blade will turn in a revolution maybe in 20 minutes. Oh, wow. It's like very slow. But just depends on the wind speed. But there's one day that we had some issues with one turbine. I had to go up there and I had to troubleshoot it. Well, I figured it out. I said, all right, let's test it. And my supervisor's down tower, and he said, all right, we're going to run it up. Y'all just stay up there just in case it was to, fault again. That way you're up there ready to go. Well, I think we're in a 25, if not 30 meter per second wind, which is, you can't be up there. It's dangerous speeds. And, we're up there, and usually on an average day, if you got to run one up, it takes, like a minute, and it'll run up to full speed. Well, it might take a little longer sometimes, but in that wind, he said, all right, I'm going to start it up. We're, down inside the yaw deck, which is inside the tower section, right above the nacelle, and uh, he hits run on that thing, and that thing spins up. I mean, so fast. Feels if you ever been on an airplane, feels like what rough turbulence feels like.
Boy.
But on top of that, you get like you're on the outside of the plane noise, like a jet engine sound. So you're up top and you're just sitting there just shaking round back and forth. Feel like you're, on a bad airplane. Felt like it was crashing. It that was pretty scary. And yeah, like I say, just that sheer momentum. We fixed it, but I was sitting there. All right, he said, climb down. I didn't hesitate. I got out. it was pretty crazy. But
What was the pay like on that job?
pay for that job was around once you got to Tech 2, $25 to $28 an hour, which isn't terrible. But you also look at it. They had a thing like home sites. So where I was at, my home site was 80% at home, like stay on that site, 20% travel. So 80% of the year I'd be at that same wind farm, no problem. But 20% I might go to another wind farm in Oklahoma. I might go to New Mexico. I might go to wherever there's help needed. And there's some sites you could make average of 100,000 plus a year if you wanted to, but you're doing a lot of traveling. You're out of town pretty much all the time, and I didn't want to do that. I was okay with going every now and then, but I like being at home. That's just me. But towers I worked on, they were called a V110, so they're 90 meters in the air. I got to work on a few V136. So basically, when I say like the V110, that means that the circumference of the blades is 110 meters. So
Okay.
the V136, it's 136 meters. So those were, I want to say, 105 or 110 meters in the air. So that's the nacelle or hub height is how high it is. So my 300 feet turned into almost 400 feet, and I got to go climb some of those and repair some blades on those. And over in southeastern Oklahoma, it's called Wild Horse, is the wind farm. And it I've been climbing them for a little over a year. I'm used to it. It's all right, I'm about to the top. Well, I'm climbing this new turbine. It's all right, I'm about to the top. Well, I'll look up. It's like, dang, I still got another tower section to go. It's still, another 100 feet or so. And, had to adapt to that. And I had working on those blades over there. So the turbine I was working on through a thunderstorm, when it was sitting there turning, I guess they have lightning detectors on these turbines, and if they get struck, it'll like track it. Well, apparently it tracked, I don't know if it was a true reading or if it malfunctioned or what, but it showed it got struck 13 times in 20 seconds. And it demolished this blade.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it just basically, the turbine, faulted out. It's come to a stop, and that blade was broke, and it landed on the top of the turbine. So you come to work the next day, and there's a blade literally on top of the turbine. You can't work on it. Can't go anywhere near it. Site's shut down. We got to do all this. So I didn't get to be a part of the process of removing the blade, but they removed it, and they had damage from the other blade getting destroyed on the other two remaining blades on there. So I got to be part of like the fiberglass repair on those, and it was interesting. That was the first time I've ever been inside of a crane basket. So basically you got a crane that can lift you all the way to the top of that turbine, and you're just in a little steel man basket that fits two people, tightly. And they hoist you up, and you do your fiberglass work and whatever you need to. And that was pretty interesting.
It takes you all the way up, and you're like, man,
Yeah.
why can't this always be? Why do I
Yeah,
gotta
I
climb the
know.
ladders?
Well, what's funny is now, as where wind energy's going, I guess they finally brightened up, because it's always to the customer. They have a ladder in there no matter what, just in case. But now newer turbines, they got elevators. basically, so it'll sit there. It's a lift that'll take you the whole way up. It won't take
Nice.
you the whole way. It'll take you all the way up, and then you might have to climb 20 feet,
Yeah,
something like
most of the
that.
way.
But it's nothing compared to climbing the ladder. But
That sounds brutal.
yeah, it was. Some other stuff like the transformers. They're in the very back of the turbine. There's three of them inside there, and it takes. So our generators were creating 690 volts, and it was that 690 volts was nasty like wavelength in electrical terms, and it would go through an inverter and it'd clean it up to where it was nice AC waves, and then it would hit those turbine or those transformers, and it'd take it from 690 volts to 34,500, grid voltage. And that's what would, go down to power plants wherever, and it'd distribute out. So you had to check transformers yearly, no matter what. Go inside, clean them. There's a cleaning process. You got to torque them, all this. So inside those transformer rooms, there's a kill switch up top. You'll hit it, and it basically trips a giant switch gear that's in the very bottom of the tower, and it kills power to everything. So once you got your power killed, you wait, 5 to 10 minutes, whatever power inside that transformer might dissipate. It's kind of, like a capacitor, it'll store some energy, but you give it enough time, it'll leak away. And so in order to check those transformer rooms, you had to put on, it's called a 40 cal suit. So it looks like a bomb squad suit, basically. It's rated up to like 50,000 volts. If, you were to have a big arc, while inside one of these, it'll protect you and not like burn you or electrocute you. It's supposed to, you know, protect you. But so you'd put that on, and you'd have gloves that were, oh man, they're almost like a 1/4 inch thick. You can barely move your fingers, and you have a meter, that basically it'll detect if there's still voltage on there. You turn it on, it'll sit there beep, and then if you were to touch it, it'll just sound like a god awful noise saying, "Hey, there's still power here. Don't get any closer." And you check all the way around those transformers to make sure, and then after that you get ground wire out, and you ground those transformers to earth. So if there was any power left in them, it goes straight to the ground. You're safe then. You can touch them. It's perfectly safe. So I was up there with a friend, and he was behind me, and I had that 40 cal suit on. Right as I go to ground that wire to that transformer, he turns his flash on, his phone, and it looks like an arc. You just see a flash, and you're like, oh no. You just like clench up, and he's just laughing and laughing. And I turn around, and I was sitting there, I was ready to kill him. But it was pretty fun. You get inside those transformer rooms, and the hole in the cell, it's fiberglass. So if you rub up against that fiberglass inside there, you build static electricity. And you go touch that metal transformer, and you see an arc, and you just freeze and think that oh, it's live. You're gonna get electrocuted.
Oh man.
But did that, and I got to work with some engineers on a project. It was basically like changing a circuit for a fan to allow a lower voltage fan to be ran in place of that, old existing fan to help cool whatever components needed to be cooled. And it basically, by doing that, it helped eliminate the draw of power that needed to run the turbine so it could create more power. So I got to help with that, and basically I was just like the field guy. So they would design something, here, go do this at this exact stuff, and I'd do it and test it and give them the feedback. And doing that got me thinking, that's pretty cool, and that's what got me on like the electrical engineering path. I already got an electrical background. I wanted to do it. Well, this is summer of 2020. I sat there and was up in a turbine one day. It's, I think, 98 degrees outside. So inside of the turbine, inside the nacelle, it's probably 120 plus degrees. Not
That's
much.
horrible.
yeah, you get drenched with sweat, and it's just not fun. So I just got out of a turbine one day, and you know, go back to the office. It's like 2:30. We usually go home around 3, and it was 5 minutes before we was about to leave. Turbine faulted, and got to go back out. And it was an emergency stop out inside the hub, which is where the blades are connected. So it's automatic. Go up there. You got to pin the blades out. Uh, Crawl over inside the hub. No ventilation whatsoever inside that hub, with nothing but hot hydraulic hoses, everything. So I'm just up there. What it was is one little wire had come unplugged on that emergency stop switch, and all I had to do was put it back in and just barely tighten the screw, and it was fine. But getting up there and drenched in sweat again after drying off, I had like a heart to heart with myself and said, yeah, let's get out of this, and
Yeah.
let's go back to school for something. And that's where working with electrical engineers, that got me into the idea. So I applied for electrical engineering program at Oklahoma State, and I'm in my, I guess, second full year of it. So I'm on that end of sophomore slash beginning of junior year. So I have about another year and a half, 2 years left. I should be done. But that right there is what got me back into school. So it's been a long ride, but I wouldn't change anything of it. It's taught me a lot of life lessons. I got to go out and live life. Where as kids that get straight out of high school, go to college, yeah, they kind of get a little wild, might get a little loose because they get away from the parents and all that.
Yeah.
But I got a different look view on it, because I know that if I'm not doing well in a class, it's coming out of my pocket. I need to buckle down. It's helped me actually from when I graduated high school and first started college. I didn't really care. Like, let's just get it over with. Now it's like, let's do it to better your life and
Yeah.
get it over with. And so, wind turbines experience, all the stuff I've done, I've enjoyed it. I've made a lot of memories, made a lot of good friends that I still talk to today. Now I'm making new friends back in school, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And don't know where it's going to take me, but I know it's going to take me from not sweating in a 120-degree turbine.
Yeah. That sounds
Yeah,
so difficult.
it was. Another scary thing about the turbines was when we were out in Portland, Oregon. If one of the turbines were to catch fire, you have what's called an ape escape, and basically what that is it's on your harness, depending on the height of your turbine. Mine was like I say 90 meters. I had 107 meters of rope attached to like the buttocks of my harness, and basically if it was to catch fire, if you couldn't make it down into the tower section, you'd use it in the tower section too. But if you couldn't make it in the tower section because of the flames, you'd go on the roof, you'd attach yourself to the roof, and then you'd throw yourself off the side of it. And it has a big cam in there, and you just basically hold that cam and feed that rope. And I think you fall like 20 meters a second until you get down to the ground, and you can control it the whole time. And we got to train with it while we was out in Portland, Oregon, and it wasn't near as high as what being on an actual turbine was, but it's still 50 foot in the air, and you'd still throw yourself off and have to learn it and all that. But that was the one thing that I was always scared about, was if it were to catch fire,
Yeah.
because there's really no way out. You read stories about men burning to death up there, or jumping off because they didn't want to burn to death or something like that. But
It's horrible.
but yeah, so that's basically my college career right now. I started out 2 year school, kind of quit, went back to 2 year school, got a degree, and now I'm back in a university. I'm kind of, I've done it a little backwards. I didn't really get that move off away from your parents feel, live in a dorm or live on your own kind of like college experience. Kind of getting that now. It's fun, but also at that I've been out in the world. I know what my goal drive is, and that's what keeps me motivated. And just let's go. Let's keep going. Keep moving.
That is honestly such a cool story, though. I mean, that's so much.
Yeah, it's different for sure.
So many adventures.
So many adventures. There's a lot of them for sure.
But I want to ask you actually. So this is interesting to me. You've worked in both oil and wind.
Yes.
So like, what do you think about all the pushes for renewable energy and the push for departing from fossil fuels and such?
Well, I'm for both. You know, I come from a family of nothing but oil, and then I've worked in the green industry. And well, I say wind turbines are 100% efficient. No, they're not. The wind doesn't always blow. There's days when they're not generating power, they're using power. There's and then a lot of other people, if they twist it around like, oh, it's green energy, well, it still uses oil from fossil fuels. It takes fossil fuels to create them.
Right.
I'm not down on them at all. Like I say, the site I was on it had 50 turbines, 2 megawatt platform, so it was 100 megawatts. What it create, and then we had a sister site that had 125 turbines, and they were 2 megawatt as well. So just our two sister sites, I think, would power almost like 500,000 homes.
Wow.
When they were at full capacity.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm still back and forth in between. Do I think it's a greener solution? Yes, it's a greener solution, but it still uses fossil fuels to run. What if it was up to me? Would I use natural gas over them? 100%. But that's just me.
Well, why would you use fossil fuels over them?
Honestly, natural gas we have an abundant supply of it. Before we were venting it off in the air, wasn't selling it. Now it's heating hundreds of thousands of homes all across the nation, if not millions. It's a clean burning fuel, so you can, instead of using coal, which I'm not a big coal guy. When it comes to power plants, a lot of people push coal. Well, natural gas, if you can run the same power plants with natural gas, cheaper, it's cleaner, and there's no pits like coal mines or anything for tearing up the earth.
Right.
You look at a gas well or something, yeah, they might dig a hole, but for a pipeline or something, but they cover it back up, they plant new grass, they make it look neat again. But it's that's what I'd do if it was up to me. I'd do that, but it's also like the gas cars versus electric cars right now.
Right.
A lithium mine looks way worse than a natural gas well or
Right.
an oil well. But
yeah, that's what's always interesting is it's like there's really no
it's
perfectly clean way to do it.
I understand why we're doing it. We got to advance in some way, so we got to try something. I'm all for it. Let's try it, but you always got an alternative to go back to.
Do you have an opinion on solar power?
Solar power? I've never really worked on any solar power. I've applied for some jobs to work at solar farms just to maybe get my hands dirty with it, see what it's like. But solar power, they're pretty interesting. Just to take energy from the sun, it doesn't create a lot of power. You got to have several acreage, of nothing but solar. Is it better than wind turbines? You got to they go to a battery station, have big batteries and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's a toss up. And then also what I like about, wind turbines over solar farms is, one of those turbines is, life expectancy is 20 years of producing. After, it's worn out and, they can go upwards or more than 20 years if they're well taken care of. But after it's worn out, you take the top off the nacelle, you put a new one on top of that tower section, and another 20 years.
Again.
Yeah, it's good to go again. But where you see a lot of solar farms, they'll install a new one, and then after so many years, it's the upkeep or something, they'll just abandon it. And, that's just how I am. But am I for like solar when it comes to like your houses? Like, yes, I'm definitely looking into like when I build a house for solar power. Why not? Why wouldn't I want to make my electric bill cheaper? Why wouldn't I
Yeah.
maybe want to be not having to rely on electric companies?
Right.
But in the government, they also have a lot of green deals that you can do that, what would cost you maybe $20,000 to install might cost you only 10 now, or maybe less. There's huge tax write-offs.
Yeah.
But
Well, what do you think the future looks like? Like, let's say 20 years down the line, as far as energy goes.
well, quite frankly, the way I look at it is we're going to see it in our lifetime. Gas vehicles, they're going to be a thing of the past. They're going to be gone. They're trying to push the electric vehicles. And, I don't know how many Teslas you see a week now, but heck, there's one parked down by my car right now. I haven't seen one up in Stillwater. I've seen a few, but I haven't seen a student driving one until this week. But I'm sure, give it another year or two, this campus will be full of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I foresee, gas. That's something we're going to see in our lifetime go away. It's not that we're not going to have an abundant or a supply for it. It's just they're going away from it. It's like GM, I think, or Cadillac is no longer creating the V8 6.2 liter V8. They're, I think, going with electric now, and it's pretty weird. It's going to be interesting times, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Those wind turbines, they keep getting bigger and bigger. They got 14 megawatts. When I was working there, they had 14 megawatts, which is huge. I think they're 164 meters.
Mm.
Wingspan. They're tall, but those are ocean turbines and all that, and they could just keep getting bigger, creating more power. And then, quite frankly, there's people out there now doing stuff with ocean currents, creating electric power.
I've seen that.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad we're pursuing trying to find a way to be self-efficient and not have to pollute the earth anymore.
Sure.
But
No.
it's a process.
Yeah.
Still waiting for the whatever Tony Stark created.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, still waiting for that.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
But well, Danny, thank you so much. You got any sort of closing thoughts you want to leave anybody with?
Well, if anyone was to look into like going to school, yeah, I totally agree. You need a college education anymore. You can go to a technical school; they'll give you a degree. They'll guarantee you a job. You can go to a university, but don't do it as fast. Like, let's do 4 years and be done with it. Because out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a petroleum engineer. And that, I got into some of the curriculum, and I said, you know what, I really don't want to do this. And then I thought natural gas mechanic, and, oil didn't treat me right. So I went to electrician, and now I'm an electrical engineer major. And, do I want to be an electrical engineer the rest of my life? I don't know, probably not. Give me 10, 15 years down the road, I might try something else.
Right.
But I just wouldn't rush into it, Go out don't be afraid to take a year or two off of school. Go out, experience the world, kind of do something, come back to it. Your credits don't go away.
Yeah.
So just take some time off. If you're struggling, I don't know if this is what I want to do. Go try something. Go cross seas for 2 years or whatever. Backpack something.
Yeah.
But if that's what I had to tell a high school student or someone, that's what I'd tell them, just get your gen eds done, go work for a little bit, make some money, kind of decide, is this what I want to do the rest of my life, or, find something else.
Excellent. That's really good. But Danny, I really appreciate your time and your thoughts.
I appreciate you having me here.
Of course.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. Well, we'll have you back for sure, because I think there's a lot more to talk about with clean energy and
I'm an open
where
book.
things are headed. So, but awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.